What's up, everybody? Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and I've got with me Bill Kessler from Beresford Booth. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Well, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself so everybody can get to know you a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump into the interview a little bit.
Sure. Again, my name is Bill Kessler. I'm a business and real estate lawyer at the firm of Beresford Booth. We are in downtown Edmonds. I do a lot of business law on the transactional side as well as the litigation side, and I do a lot of real estate law on both the transactional and litigation side. And have worked with Zach for several years, and happy to be here to talk with you guys a bit about tenancies in common and LLCs and people buying properties together in general, I think. Yep.
What differences are there? So if we're in a situation where maybe somebody's buying it with a friend,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like? It's a little different than a dating or marriage relationship.
Yeah.
What is the difference in how they should approach buying together as friends?
Yeah, I'm seeing a big uptick in people buying property together who are not dating, and they're not just doing it as business partners. Buying an investment property together. That's always been sort of common, but very common now for people who want to live in the house, who are buying, like two couples buying together or two single people who are friends buying together, simply to be able to afford the place, because obviously real estate prices around here are so expensive.
Definitely.
So as you touched on, Zach, you've got people in other markets like LA, San Francisco, New York that have been doing this for a while now, and it's becoming more and more common in Seattle. And I don't know how many I've done over the last year or so, probably a dozen, where you've got friends, whether it's individuals or couples, that are buying together and intending to live under the same roof. So it makes a lot of business sense. I think it's a great opportunity for people, but it's got to be done the right way. And people know that intuitively. They start thinking of possible issues just like anybody normally would off the top of their head. But what's super important for those couples to do, or I'll say a couple, I'll use an example of two couples buying together, both intending to live at the property and use it as their primary residence for tax purposes and otherwise, then it's important for them to do that the right way.
Okay.
And to have a contract that governs that.
What does that look
Yeah.
like? I mean, what kind of a contract should they have in place? I'm assuming it's a little different than if they were in a committed relationship together.
Right, very different. Yeah. So they are. What'll happen when people buy together and they want to live in the property as their primary residence, they want to live in it as tenants in common. They want to own it as tenants in common, and that is it's a strange term. It's an old English term. It sounds like you're renting something. You're like, tenants. What does that mean? Sometimes some people have heard the term joint tenants with right of survivorship. That's usually like husband and wife on a bank account. It's very common. But joint or tenants in common is the default way that two people would own a piece of property. So if you and your wife and me and my wife bought a piece of property together, and we got under the purchase and sale agreement, and it just said our names, and then we went and closed. All the buyers' names are right there on the deed. So it's Jane and Bob Smith convey to Bill and Zach and Christina and Holly. It's just like all our names are right there on the deed. So if you look at that deed you take from your seller and all the names are all there, tenants in common is how you own it. And there's a whole bunch of laws that just automatically apply to you when you own as tenants in common. And a lot of them aren't really good. They're not really good. They're not for the people who own together, but it's how you have to own, or it's how you should own if you're going, in most people's cases, it's how you should own if you're going to claim that property as your primary residence for tax purposes. So that's the business relationship is called a tenancy in common. And then you have a contract, not an agreement regarding status of property. That's for couples.
Yep.
You have a contract called a tenancy in common agreement, or the slang for it is a TIC, a TIC, and that's your partnership deal with your co-owners, is a TIC.
So in a TIC, what are a couple of the things that are really important in the TIC that help make it a little bit more clear as to how the relationship's handled versus if you just went ahead and did it without the agreement?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the TIC answers questions for people, and it kind of narrows the focus from what people think of in kind of an amorphous way into a more specific agreement. So it answers what if questions. What if I want to refi? And Zach doesn't want to refi? What if I want to sell and Zach doesn't? What if Zach wants to bring in a tenant and I don't? Rent out a room to somebody else and I don't? What if Zach wants to remodel and I don't? What if Zach and I get sick of each other and don't want to live there anymore? Yeah, right. It answers what if questions. Who pays what expenses? What happens if I pay more than Zach does? What happens if he pays more than I do? I tell Zach not to remodel, but I come home and he's got a construction project going on.
That be good.
Right? What do we do? What if we just can't resolve our differences? What do we do if we have big differences and we can't resolve them? How do we get those resolved? Do we have to resort to courts, or do we have alternative dispute resolution methods that we can implement that are streamlined for co-owners like us and not made for multi-million-dollar disputes? So there's all these questions that can be answered inside that TIC, and it really helps people on the front end get their focus narrowed and answer those questions and get real comfortable with each other, rather than just wondering what those issues.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to go well.
That's right.
It does sometimes, right?
That's right. Waking up at 2 a.m. and go, what about this situation? You answer all those things in the contract up front. So.
And you guys get paid to think through those things and do this on a regular basis versus somebody just.
Right. That's
what situation? Googling, essentially.
Yeah, that's the service we provide is to give them that product, but also to provide independent and detached legal advice and judgment that helps people that where we can provide that dispassionate analysis and also not just the product at the end of the day, but going through the process of creating that product that is going to give people that comfort and that peace of mind that they've addressed all the issues that they need to address before they get in.
That's great.
Get into the relationship.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us a little bit of an education on the TICs. Thanks so much for watching this video interview with Bill Kessler and talking a little bit about the different entities and ways to buy real estate together. I hope this video was super valuable for you. And if you want to talk more about buying and selling real estate here in Washington State, I'd love to be a resource for you. And if you want to talk with Bill a little bit more about how to structure a purchase or come up with some of these agreements that he mentioned in the video, I'm going to link up his contact information below, and you can always reach out to me for it as well.